Welcome to our third installment of Mr. A. Dummy's View On. Well, welcome, Mr. Dummy. Oh, thank you for having me. Well, how are you this evening? To tell you the truth, I'm very confused. Oh, about what? Well, I tried to do some research before our show tonight. Oh, that's a good idea. And I came across two quotes that totally confuse me. Well, what are they? Well, I brought them for you to see. The first one is a quote by Anubay Abdul Hadi. Sorry about the pronunciation. He was a local Arab leader and he testified before the Peel Commission in 1937 as follows: "There is no such land. Palestine is a term invented by the Zionists. There is no Palestine in the Bible. Our land was for hundreds of years a part of Syria." All right. And then I found another quote, this time by Ahmed Shukri, who was the Arab League's ambassador to the United Nations in 1956. And he said from the podium of the United Nations, "Such a creature as Palestine does not exist at all. This land is nothing but the southern portion of Greater Syria." Yes, I'm familiar with those quotes. Well, but I don't understand. Now the Arabs insist on calling this area Palestine. What happened? Well, I'll try and explain. Take a look at the map of the Middle East. You see? Now, in the context of the Arab-Israeli conflict, who is the underdog? Well, I see tiny Israel surrounded by all the Arab countries. I guess Israel is the underdog. Exactly. And people in the West usually root for the underdog. So in the 1960s, the Soviet Union wanted to get more influence in the area. So they told the Arabs that they needed to change the perception of Israel as David and Arabs as the Goliath. But how could they change this reality? Oh, they could create an alternative reality. They could invent a so-called narrative. Well, what did they do? Well, you see, the Soviets knew that the people in the West still knew this area, even though the modern state of Israel was already established, still knew the area by the name that the Roman emperor had given to the land of Israel to make people forget that the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people. The Romans renamed the land of Israel? Yes, they did. And what did they rename it as? Well, listen, they knew, the Emperor Hadrian knew that the Jews once had a very fierce enemy that no longer existed, that their name would do. So they called this land Palestine after the Palestine. And the Soviet secret police told the Arabs that they needed to start using this name. But the Arabs had already rejected this name. True, that now they were told that this name could be very beneficial for their cause. So they invented an Arab Palestine. Now it's very interesting. Palestine and Palestinian are not Arabic names. Just as in English, there are many sounds that don't appear in our language, so in the Arabic language, there is no sound T. So why would they name their country with a name that begins with a letter that they don't have in their alphabet? Simple. Although the Arabs had rejected the name Palestine, they knew that people in the West had continued to call this area by the name Palestine the name given by the Roman occupiers of the land of Israel to make people forget that the land of Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people. So if they call their land Palestine and call themselves Palestinians, they can lead people to believe that they are the original inhabitants of the land of Israel. Well, let me ask you, was there ever an independent country called Palestine? Never. It never existed. It only started to be called Arab Palestine in the 1960s. So I have a suggestion for you. What? Well, next time you see people demonstrating for Palestine or for a free Palestine, ask them the following questions. You're saying that you want Palestine to be free. When was it not free? When was it independent? What kind of government did they have? Who were its first leaders? Well, but if you say there was never an independent country called Palestine, how would they be able to answer? They wouldn't be able to. So maybe they would understand that they don't know the history of this land. So is calling the land of Israel by the name Palestine, is that propaganda? Yes, it continues what the Romans started. By calling the area Palestine, it erases Jewish history to the land. But by creating a so-called Arab Palestine, it does even more, because the Arabs have appropriated Jewish history and are trying to appropriate Jewish land. Look it up. If it ain't true, I'm not Mr. A Dummy.